record on my computer. I got a new one. So we're recording here, and I'm Harry Watt of North Carolina State University Wood Products Extension. I'm with Andrew Easton of Eastonmade Wood Splitters of Perth, Canada. And this video is being made for the National Firewood Workshop 2021, focused on Tennessee and working with the Tennessee Division of Forestry. And this grant is a grant project made possible by the U.S. Forest Service Wood Innovations Grant Program out of Princeton, West Virginia. And we do follow all the protocols for openness, and we do not discriminate in any way, shape, or form. So, Andrew, tell us about your firewood splitter company.
Well, Eastonmade is I've been at Eastonmade for about 6 years now, so it's still a fairly new company. And what we do is we manufacture commercial grade log splitters. We manufacture log splitters that are built just one notch heavier than what you would normally get at a box store. They're more geared towards somebody that's doing wood commercially on a regular basis. That is doing it for a business rather than for personal heat or for pleasure.
Well, the personal heater ones, Andrew, generally have the splitting wedge on the hydraulic ram, but your machines don't operate that way, do they?
No, they don't. Like most of our designs are a push-through design, and we do that because typically when you're doing a commercial or production application, it's easier to push the wood off the end of the machine and into the conveyor. It just saves that extra step of handling. And the reason why most of the residential ones will have the wedge on the actual cylinder part of it is so they can both go horizontal and vertical.
Well, very good. Your machines are what I would call professional grade. They're for somebody trying to run a business where volume is important. That's correct, right?
Yes, that is correct. Like most guys that are buying these are guys that are doing large volumes of firewood. They're doing a couple of hundred, 300, 400, 500 cord of wood a year. We do have a handful of guys that obviously buy them just because they want to have something really good and the investment end of it. But most people are doing it as a business.
Tell me a little bit about when we look at wood splitters, what are the power options out on the market for wood splitters?
It really varies. Like for the most part, everything's going to be gasoline powered, and normally a small engine, it's going to be a lot of them are going to be a single cylinder engine on them, and around that 10 to 13 horsepower range. In North America, we don't typically get into too many electric options for them. We have been asked a handful of times for them, just in terms of like bundling operations or something that wants to do their firewood inside or under a roof, and it saves maintenance and stuff. But we haven't ever got into doing that. The other options we have too is we actually have a Kubota option on our log splitters now too, where you can buy a Kubota diesel on it. Biggest advantage of having the Kubota diesel would be if you had fuel in your yard, or if you were going to run it like commercially every single day and you needed something that was going to be a really high hour engine.
Tell us about the different options for wedges on wood splitters.
With our splitters, we offer just about everything. We offer a 4, 6, 8, 12, and a box wedge. So that determines how many pieces you're going to get out of one pass or one cycle of a log splitter. Obviously, a 4-way, you can have 4 or 6 sort of thing. And depending on the size of the wood that you're putting into it and the size of the wood that you want to achieve coming out the other end of it, that's what determines what size of wedge you would want in there, or how many splits you would want out of that wedge.
Well, one of the issues that you get into is what you get out depends on what you put in. Can you give us a little discussion of how log size or the block size and diameter affects the pieces you get out?
It certainly does, because every piece of wood's different. Not two of them are ever going to be the same. So typically, if you're into normally what we tell guys is like a 4-way wedge is going to be really good for smaller wood or making like boiler wood for an outdoor furnace. The other thing that the 4-way is really, really nice for is if you're doing really large oversized stuff with knots in it, because you can achieve a lot nicer looking splits than say with a box wedge or an 8-way or a 6-way. You can work around the knots a lot easier and typically make nicer looking wood with a 4-way wedge rather than something with more knives on it.
Well, what about the 6 and 8s? What log size matches up good with them?
The 6-way for most sellable firewood, that would be like a handful, like a 4x4 piece. The 6-way is good from probably about 8 inches up to 12 inches, and then the 8-way is probably 12 to 16. The big advantage of running either one of those wedges, especially with a design like what we have, where you can just load the logs onto it, is production and efficiency. You can literally just put a piece of wood on it and hit the auto cycle and walk away from it, and push the wood at the other end of it.
Well, I do notice you make a 12-way wedge, and if you stand to the side of it, the blades are staggered as far as when that block of wood hits it. Why do you do that?
Yes, they are. If you have all your wedges hitting at one time, your success of splitting that block of wood is going to be very, very minimal. You really have to have the wood start to open up before you go into the next blade. And you'll see that with all of our wedges, like whether it be a 4-way or a 6-way, an 8 or 12, they're all staggered like that. For exactly that reason, you really have to consider that if you have everything even, it's either going to take 4 times or 6 times as much power to actually push through that wedge, where when you stagger them, it's a lot smoother transition.
Is there any theories of what kind of steel you use for wedges, or is any steel good, or you actually have favorites?
I've tried just about everything. There's really not a whole lot I haven't tried. We've run cold rolled, we've run mild steel, we've run different tool steels. We prefer AR 400. It's really abrasion resistant, tough steel that's easily weldable, and that's typically what we'll use for our wedges. It's a little tougher to machine than mild steel or cold rolled, but depending on what your practice is in terms of achieving the edge on the blade, that's how you would get it a little bit better, or how you would machine into the process on the actual manufacturing end of it. But AR 400 is typically what would be an industry standard for material for that.
Okay. If you were running a wood splitting business, what's the smart way to run it if your business is focused on a wood splitter?
Typically, what a lot of guys will do when they're buying a splitter, or that I have noticed, there's two types of guys that typically buy one of these commercial splitters, and it's either somebody that's kind of starting out or a tree service. So the big thing with having a splitter is you're not limited to the size of wood or the diameter, shape, length as you are with the firewood processor. So that's the biggest advantage of having that. And the big thing with them in terms of production and actually achieving your goals is how your wood yard is set up, and how you're moving wood within the wood yard. Because that's when you get into any of these commercial machines, whether it be mine or competitors, that's the name of the game, is efficiency other than the splitter. Because the splitters are fast enough that it's normally not the slow part of the process.
Well, what do you think is the best way for people operating splitters to block their logs?
There's a handful of different ways you can do it. Typically, depending on whether you're running a conveyor or not. Like a lot of guys, if they're not running a conveyor, will back the splitter kind of into the log pile and keep pushing the splitter back into the log pile and kind of split through the pile. Whereas if you're running a conveyor, you're going to want to have a bigger pile of wood typically than what you would have coming out of the splitter. If it were just sitting there flat, like making a windrow. So in that instance, you would want to move the blocks to the splitter. And in doing so, you typically need a second piece of equipment, or have it set up kind of in line or parallel with your log pile.
Okay. Anything else that you'd like to mention about wood splitters and their place in the firewood industry?
I think the biggest thing is most of the time splitters are going to be very, very precise in terms of quality control with the wood coming out the other end of them. And that seems to be the big the big plus for a lot of guys over other methods of splitting firewood is being able to have control over the size. Because a lot of the markets that we've seen now are going towards campfire wood and cooking wood, and so the smaller wood is what's really taken off for guys, and that seems to be, in terms of a business aspect, the best bang for your buck, or the best money you're going to make. The more you refine it, the more it's worth, sort of thing. So
what you're saying to people that's in the firewood business is, yeah, you can split big chunks of wood for, say, outdoor stoves, but you get a lot higher price for the small wood, and especially for restaurant cooking wood.
that's exactly it. You're going to get a lot better dollar for it, and you want to make sure that the quality of the wood that you're delivering to the customer is good quality stuff. One, because you're going to get a good buck for it, and two, because you're going to have better client retention. And in this business, that's the name of the game. You have to have that person call you back next year, and if you don't have a good product delivered to them, they're not likely going to do that to you.
Well, we appreciate you being with us today. The National Firewood Workshop, we've done these in places like New Hampshire, Maryland, North Carolina, and we're going to Wisconsin in 2022, and that should be on site, and we hope to see you there in Wisconsin. That'll be June next year, so look forward to
I really, really hope to make it. I've been trying to make it to them for a couple of years here now, and this is the first time I think you and I have been able to line up, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Andrew, good luck with you and everybody else in Perth, Ontario.
Thank you.